The school science fair was supposed to be boring, just another day of students showing simple projects. Nobody expected what would happen. Yuna stood near her project. It looked simple. A complex model showing energy transfer between different systems. But it was more than just a school project. 3 strangers entered the school gymnasium. They didn't look like parents or teachers. They moved differently. Their eyes scanned the room too carefully. Sungmin, who was watching from the side, tensed up. "They're here," he whispered to himself. The first stranger moved closer to Yuna. His hand reached into his jacket. Something metallic glinted for just a moment. Yuna didn't panic. Instead, she felt calm, like she had been here before, like she knew exactly what to do. Her hands moved across her project, but they weren't just moving. They were calculating, planning, each movement precise and calculated. The strangers weren't human, not completely. Their skin looked slightly too smooth, their movements slightly too perfect. "Target identified," the first stranger said. His voice sounded like it came from a machine. Yuna's classmates continued working on their projects. Jaehoon was showing a basic robot. Haijin had a chemistry display. Nobody noticed the tension building. But Yuna was different now. Her memories of galactic battles flooded back. Strategies she had used to defeat entire fleets came rushing into her mind. The strangers moved closer. One pulled out a device that looked like a weapon. In that moment, Yuna became someone else. Not the quiet girl everyone ignored, but the galactic strategist who had overthrown empires. She grabbed components from her science project. Wires, batteries, small metal pieces, things that looked like simple science fair materials. Her hands moved faster than anyone could see. In seconds, she created a device. Not a weapon, but something more powerful. A signal disruptor. The strangers' devices went dead. Their perfect movements became clumsy, confused. "Tactical interference implemented," Yuna muttered. Words from another life. Her classmates started to notice something was wrong. Jaehoon's mouth dropped open. Haijin took a step back. Some men watched with a mix of pride and caution. The strangers tried to regroup, but Yuna was already 3 steps ahead. She used the gymnasium's electrical systems, speakers, lights. Everything became part of her defense. "Perimeter secured," she said quietly. Mr. Kim walked over. "Is everything okay?" he asked. The strangers looked human again, just visitors. "Nothing special. Everything is fine," Yuna said. Her voice was calm, controlled. Jaehoon approached her after the strangers left. For the first time, he looked at her with something other than mockery. What just happened?" he asked. Yuna smiled, a smile that carried the weight of 1,000 strategic victories. "Just a science project," she said. But everyone knew something had changed. Yuna was no longer invisible, no longer just the quiet girl. She was something else entirely. Yuna Park sat alone at the back of the classroom. Her dark hair fell over her eyes, hiding her face from the other students. She wanted to disappear. Every day felt like a battle, and today was no different. The classroom buzzed with chatter. Students laughed, shared jokes, and passed notes. But not Yuna. She was invisible, or worse, a target. "Hey, bookworm." Jaehoon's voice cut through the noise. He walked down the aisle, his friends trailing behind him like a pack of hyenas. "Did you finish the math homework?" Yuna kept her eyes on her desk. She had finished the homework days ago, solving problems that most students found challenging. But speaking up meant drawing attention, and attention was the last thing she wanted. Haijin, Jaehoon's best friend, leaned over from the next row. "Are you going to answer, or what?" Her voice tripped with mockery. "Or are you too scared?" A few students snickered. Yuna felt her cheeks burn. She wanted to disappear into the worn-out wooden desk, to become part of the classroom's faded wallpaper. Mr. Kim, their homeroom teacher, seemed oblivious to the ongoing torment. He wrote math problems on the whiteboard, his back turned to the class. The chalk made sharp, loud sounds with each stroke, breaking the tense silence. Jaehoon wasn't done. He snatched a notebook from Yuna's desk. "Let me see those amazing notes everyone talks about," he said, his voice loud enough for everyone to hear. Yuna's heart raced. Those notebooks were her lifeline, her escape from the cruel world around her. They were filled with complex calculations, strange diagrams, and notes that seemed to belong to someone much older and more experienced. "Give it back," she whispered, her voice barely audible. More laughter erupted. Haijin pointed and giggled. "Did you hear that?" The quiet girl actually spoke. The classroom felt like a pressure cooker. Heat rose from Yuna's neck to her cheeks. She wanted to scream, to fight back, to show them she was more than they thought. But years of bullying had taught her that silence was safer. Mr. Kim finally turned around. "Is there a problem?" he asked, looking more tired than concerned. Jaehoon quickly placed the notebook back on Yuna's desk. "No problem, sir," he said with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. The rest of the class period crawled by. Yuna didn't look up, didn't move. Her mind wandered, as it often did, to strange dreams she'd been having. Dreams of vast spaces, of ships larger than cities, of battles that seemed both familiar and impossible. When the bell rang, students rushed out like water breaking through a dam. Yuna stayed behind, collecting her things slowly. She knew the hallways would be dangerous, the time when bullies loved to strike. Her backpack was heavy, not just with books, but with something else. A weight she couldn't explain, a feeling that she was meant for something more, something bigger than this small classroom, these small-minded people. As she walked through the school hallway, students bumped into her, pushed past her, ignored her. To them, she was nothing more than a shadow, a nobody. Little did they know how wrong they were. Outside, the autumn wind picked up. Leaves danced around Yuna, swirling in patterns that seemed almost deliberate, almost like a message waiting to be understood. She didn't know it yet, but her life was about to change forever. The confrontation happened on a Tuesday. Lunchtime. The school cafeteria buzzed with noise. Students talked, laughed, ate their food. Jaehoon and Haijin sat at their usual table, the popular spot, the place where they felt powerful. Yuna walked towards them, not scared, not angry, just calm. Everyone felt something change when she approached. The noise seemed to drop, like everyone knew something important was about to happen. "We need to talk," Yuna said. Her voice was different now, not the quiet whisper from before. Something stronger. Jaehoon laughed. "Old habits die hard." "About what?" he asked, looking at his friends. Yuna didn't react to the laugh. She looked at them, really looked at them. Her eyes saw more than just two teenagers. She saw their fears, their hopes, their insecurities. "You've been making fun of me for years," she said, "but you don't know who I really am." Haijin tried to interrupt. "Oh, here we go again." But Yuna stopped her, not with anger, with understanding. "Jaehoon," she said, "you make fun of others because you're afraid of not being the best. Your parents push you too hard. You think being loud means being strong." Jaehoon's face changed. The laugh died in his throat. "Haijin," Yuna continued, "you follow others because you're scared of being alone. You think popularity is the same as friendship." The cafeteria was completely silent now. Yuna wasn't attacking them. She was helping them see themselves, the way she once helped entire species understand each other. "I've negotiated peace between species that had been fighting for thousands of years," she said quietly. "Helping two teenagers understand themselves is easy." Some men, watching from across the cafeteria, smiled. This was the area he remembered. Jaehoon's face went through several emotions. Anger, confusion, then something else. Understanding. "How do you know all this?" he asked. Yuna's smile was different now. Knowing. Calm. "Because I've seen bigger conflicts than high school drama," she said. I've brought peace to star systems. Your problems are just small. The other students started to listen. Something was happening they had never seen before. Hai-Jin's eyes filled with tears, not from being hurt, but from being seen, really seen. Why are you telling us this? She asked. Because everyone has potential, Yuna said. Everyone can be more than others expect. Mr. Kim watched from the teacher's table. Something had changed in this quiet student. Jae-hoon stood up. For the first time, he looked at Yuna with respect. I'm sorry, he said. Simple words, but important ones. Hai-Jin nodded. We were wrong about you, she said. The cafeteria slowly came back to life. But something was different. Yuna had done what she did best. Not fighting, not winning, but helping others understand, just like she once did for entire star systems. Her real power was never about fighting. It was about seeing potential in everyone. The next few days were strange for Yuna. School felt different, small, unimportant. How could she care about math tests when she remembered planning battles that saved entire star systems? Her memories came in waves, sometimes during class, sometimes when she was alone. Each memory was like a puzzle piece falling into place. She remembered a conference room. Not on Earth. Somewhere else. Alien species from dozens of worlds sat around a massive table. Some had tentacles. Some had multiple eyes. Some looked nothing like humans. But they all looked to her. The hegemony believes we are weak, Yuna, or area, had said. Her voice was calm, strong. They think diversity means division. We will show them our strength comes from our differences. In her current life, Yuna struggled to understand these memories. How could she, this quiet girl who got bullied every day, have been such a powerful leader? Some men helped her understand. They met after school in quiet spaces, libraries, empty classrooms, parks where no one could hear them. You weren't just a military leader, he explained. You were a diplomat, a strategist, someone who could see solutions where others saw only problems. Yuna saw more memories, negotiations that seemed impossible, bringing together species that had been fighting for thousands of years, finding common ground when everyone else saw only differences. One memory was especially clear. A blue-skinned alien approached her after a difficult meeting. Its eyes were different from human eyes, more complex, more understanding. How do you do this? The alien asked. How do you make enemies work together? Aria's response was simple. Everyone wants the same basic things, she said. Safety, hope, a chance to build something better. In her current life, Yuna felt the weight of these memories. They didn't feel like someone else's story. They felt like her story. Her classmates continued to ignore her. Jae-hoon still made fun of her. Hai-Jin still laughed at her. But something had changed. Yuna no longer felt small. She knew who she really was. The memories are protection, some men explained. After the war, they suppressed your identity, gave you a new life, a chance to be safe. But safety wasn't what Yuna wanted anymore. She wanted to understand. Why was I chosen? She asked some men one afternoon. He smiled. Because you saw what others couldn't. You understood that true power isn't about force. It's about understanding. About bringing people together. More memories came. Battles won not through fighting, but through talking. Conflicts resolved by finding common ground. Entire star systems saved by a single conversation. Yuna realized something important. The skills that made her a galactic leader weren't just about war. They were about connection. About seeing the potential in others. Her school life suddenly felt like a different kind of battleground. Not one to be conquered, but one to be understood. I'm ready, she told Sungmin. Ready for what? He asked. Yuna's smile was different now. Stronger, more confident. To remember everything. The past and present were about to collide. The weeks after the science fair were different. Sungmin helped Yuna understand her memories. They met in quiet places, libraries, empty park benches, places where no one would hear their strange conversations. You were more than just a military leader, Sung Min explained. He spread out old star charts, maps that looked nothing like Earth's maps. Yuna saw her past life clearly now. She wasn't just someone who fought wars. She was someone who built peace. One memory stood out: a conference on a planet with 3 moons. Species that had fought for thousands of years sat in the same room. They were ready to kill each other. But Yuna, or Area, found a way to make them listen. Our differences are not weaknesses, she had said in that memory. They are our strength. Sung Min helped her understand the details: how she had led a multi-species rebellion, how humans were just one part of a larger alliance. The hegemony thought we were simple, he said. They thought diversity meant weakness. You proved them wrong. Yuna learned about the technology she had helped develop. Communication systems that could translate between hundreds of languages, energy systems that could heal entire planets, diplomatic strategies that brought peace to star systems that had been fighting for centuries. Her school life seemed small now, but she understood something important. Every skill mattered. Every experience was a lesson. The quantum encryption key Sung Min had shown her became her connection to the past. Sometimes it would glow. Sometimes it would show her tiny holographic memories. Why was I reset? Yuna asked one day. Sung Min's face became serious. After the war, you were too dangerous, too important. Resetting your memories was the only way to keep you safe. More memories came. Battles won not through fighting, but through understanding, through finding common ground. She remembered negotiating with a species that communicated through color changes, another that spoke through complex mathematical equations, another that could only understand emotions through musical frequencies. How did you do it? She asked Sung Min. How did you bring so many different species together? He smiled. By listening. By seeing the person behind the differences. Yuna's school life started to change. She wasn't invisible anymore. The science fair incident had changed things. Jaehoon no longer made fun of her. Haijin looked at her differently. Her teachers noticed something had changed. Her strategic mind saw the school differently now. Not as a place of fear, but as a complex system that could be understood. Improved. She started helping other students, not by doing their work, but by helping them see their own potential. A student struggling with math, another having trouble with friends. Yuna saw solutions where others saw problems. You're becoming who you were always meant to be, Sung Min told her. The quantum encryption key pulsed, a reminder of a past waiting to be understood. Yuna was no longer just a high school student. She was a bridge between what was and what could be. Her real journey was just beginning. The school bus felt different that morning. Something in the air seemed to hum with an energy Yuna couldn't explain. A new student was joining their class. His name was Sung Min, and from the moment he stepped onto the bus, something felt off. Not bad, just different. Sung Min wasn't like other transfer students. He carried an old metal box. Not a backpack, not a school bag. An actual metal box that looked like it had traveled through time. Its surface was covered in scratches and strange markings that seemed to shimmer when light hit them just right. Yuna watched him from her usual spot at the back of the bus. Her dreams from last night still echoed in her mind. The massive ships, the battles, the blue-skinned creature. Everything felt so close, yet so far away. The field trip was to the local science museum. Most students looked bored. Yuna always loved these trips. Not because of the displays, but because she could escape the usual classroom drama. Mr. Kim explained the day's plan. We'll be looking at technology exhibits, he said. Pay attention. There might be a quiz later. Nobody was listening, except Yuna. During the exhibit, something strange happened. As Sung Min walked past her, his metal box brushed against her arm. The moment of contact felt like an electric shock. Images exploded in Yuna's mind. Not like dreams. These were memories, crystal clear, burning bright. She saw herself, but not herself, standing on the bridge of a massive starship. Alien species surrounded her. They looked to her for guidance, for leadership. Quantum encryption key activated. A voice said in her head. The voice was her own, but different, stronger, more confident. Yuma gasped. The museum exhibit blurred. Display cases seemed to shift and change. For a moment, she saw star charts instead of historical technology, battle maps instead of scientific diagrams. Some men turned. Their eyes met. He knew. Something in his eyes told her he knew everything. Jaehoon, who had been mocking the exhibits, suddenly noticed Yuna's strange behavior. "What's wrong with you?" he asked, his voice filled with typical teenage cruelty. But Yuma wasn't listening. Her mind was somewhere else, somewhere vast, somewhere incredible. Some men approached her quietly. "We need to talk," he whispered, "but not here." The museum suddenly felt too small, too confined, as if the walls could barely contain the story waiting to burst out. Memories continued to flood Yuna's mind. Planetary conquests, strategic meetings, negotiations that decided the fate of entire star systems. She saw herself leading rebellions, dismantling empires, changing the course of galactic history. Her hand touched the spot where Sung Min's metal box had brushed her arm. A small mark appeared, a symbol, something that looked like a combination of a star and a complex mathematical equation. "Who am I?" Yuna whispered. Sung Min's response was calm. "Someone who once changed everything," he said. "Someone who is about to change everything again." The museum exhibit continued around them. Students walked. Mr. Kim talked. But for Yuna, everything had changed. Her ordinary life was over. Something extraordinary was about to begin. The world looked different now. Yuna understood something important. Her past wasn't something to hide. It was something to learn from. Sung Min helped her understand her journey. They met more often now, not just to remember the past, but to plan for the future. "You changed entire star systems," he told her. "Now you can change your own world." The quantum encryption key stayed with her. Sometimes it glowed. Sometimes it showed tiny memories, a reminder of who she was, who she could be. Her school noticed the change. Teachers looked at her differently. Students respected her. Even Jaehoon and Haijin had become something like friends. One afternoon, Sung Min brought something special. Old recordings, star maps, documents from her past life. "These are yours," he said. "Your real history." Yuna saw herself in those recordings, not just as a fighter, but as a builder, someone who brought people together. She remembered a speech she once gave. "Not on Earth, on a planet with two suns. Our strength is not in how we are the same," she had said. "Our strength is in how we are different." Those words meant something different now, in her high school, in her life. The memories didn't make her special. They made her understand. Her strategic mind saw the world differently now. School wasn't a battlefield. It was a place to grow, to help others grow. She started helping students, not by doing their work, but by showing them their potential. A student struggling with math, another having trouble making friends. Yuna saw solutions where others saw problems. Some men watched her carefully. "You're becoming who you were always meant to be," he said. The alien reconnaissance agents never returned, but Yuna was ready if they did. Her life wasn't about fighting anymore. It was about understanding, about building. The quantum encryption key became her connection to the past, but it didn't control her future. She decided to continue her current life, not as someone hiding, but as someone who knew her true self. Her greatest battles were not fought with weapons, but with understanding, with hope. The school became different, not because of her, but because she helped others see their own potential. Jaehoon started helping younger students with sports. Haijin began a program to help students who felt left out. Small changes, but important ones. Yuna understood now why her memories were hidden. She wasn't meant to live in the past. She was meant to build the future. "What happens next?" she asked Sung Min one day. He smiled, a smile that carried the weight of star systems. "Whatever you choose," he said. The quantum encryption key pulsed, a silent promise. Her story was just beginning. Not as a galactic leader, but as herself. Yuna Park, student, strategist, human. The night was different. Yuna's dreams were never just dreams. This time, she saw a massive ship. No, not just a ship. A titan of metal and light that moved through darkness like a ghost. Strange symbols flickered across control panels. Voices spoke in languages she shouldn't understand, but somehow did. A woman's voice cut through the dream. Sharp, commanding. "Prepare jump sequence. Enemy fleet approaching from Sector 7. Yuna's body tensed in her sleep. Her small bedroom, with its pale blue walls and school posters, seemed to fade away. In the dream, she wore something different. Not her school uniform, but a sleek dark suit with strange markings. Hands moved across complex control panels. Her hands, but not really her hands. They were stronger, more confident, each movement precise, calculated. Suddenly, alarms blared. Red lights flashed. The ship shook with the impact of something massive. But the woman, the version of herself in the dream, didn't panic. Instead, she smiled. A smile that said this was just another day at the office. "Rear out power to defensive shields," she commanded. Her voice carried weight, authority. "Prepare counterattack sequence, Delta 9. Yuna's real body twisted in her bed. Sweat formed on her forehead. The dream felt more real than her actual life. Images flashed. Planets. Not Earth. Strange worlds with purple skies and 2 suns. Massive battles where ships moved like dancers, exchanging deadly blows. Negotiations in rooms filled with beings that looked nothing like humans. She saw herself, but not herself, standing before a council. Alien faces surrounded her. Some looked angry. Some looked scared, but all of them were listening. "The hegemony must fall," Dream Yuna said. Her voice was calm, but carried the promise of a hurricane. In her real bed, Yuna's hand clenched. Her breathing quickened. The dream shifted. Now she was in a smaller room. More intimate, maps and holographic displays covered the walls. Beings from different species worked together, their hands moving over complex technology. A tall creature with blue skin looked at her. At Dream Yuna, with respect. "The plan is ready," it said. The dream began to fade, but before it disappeared, Yuna caught a glimpse of something else. A memory, a promise, words that echoed in her mind. "They will not remember, but you will return." Yuna woke with a gasp. Her alarm clock showed 5:30 a.m. Outside, the first light of dawn was breaking. Her school uniform lay neatly on the chair. Her backpack waited by the door. Everything looked normal, ordinary. But something had changed. Her hands were shaking, not from fear, from something else. Something that felt like excitement. She touched her notebook. The one Jae-hoon had grabbed yesterday. Strange symbols she had drawn without thinking were scattered in the margins. They looked like the ones from her dream. For the first time in years, Yuna felt something stirring inside her. A feeling that she was more than just the quiet girl everyone ignored. Something was coming. Something big. And she was ready. The school day would never be the same again. After the museum trip, everything changed. Some men invited Yuna to meet at a small cafe near her school. It wasn't a typical after-school hangout. The place looked old, worn, like it had seen many secrets. "I'm a galactic historian," some men said without any introduction. His voice was calm, like he was talking about the weather, not something impossible. Yuna stared at him, her hands wrapped around a warm cup of tea that she wasn't really drinking. "You were someone important," Sung Min continued. "Someone who changed everything." He opened the metal box from the museum. Inside wasn't what Yuna expected. No documents, no old papers, just a small device that looked like a mix between a computer chip and a piece of jewelry. Your name was Area Solarian, some men explained. You led the greatest rebellion in galactic history. Memories started to flood back, not like dreams. These were clear, sharp, real. Yuna saw herself standing on the bridge of a massive starship. Alien species surrounded her. Some looked scared, some looked hopeful, but all of them looked to her for leadership. The galactic hegemony was an empire that enslaved thousands of species, some men said. They controlled entire star systems. Planets were just resources to them. But you changed that. Images flashed in Yuna's mind. Massive space battles. Negotiations in rooms filled with beings from different worlds. Strategies that seemed impossible. Victories that seemed like miracles. Why do I remember? Yuna asked. Her voice was quiet, confused. Some men's face became serious. Witness protection, he said. After the war, you were given a new identity. Your memories were suppressed. It was the only way to keep you safe. The device in the metal box began to glow. Soft blue light pulsed like a heartbeat. This is a quantum encryption key, some men explained. The same key you used to bring down the hegemony's communication network. It was how you won the war. Yuna touched the device. The moment her fingers made contact, more memories rushed in. She remembered leading a multi-species alliance. Humans were just one part of a larger rebellion. But they were the spark, the hope, the unexpected element that no one saw coming. We were underdogs, some men said, reading her thoughts. No one expected humans to become such powerful strategists. The hegemony thought we were primitive, simple, easy to control. A smile started to form on Yuna's face, the first real smile she'd had in years. They were wrong, she said. It wasn't a question. It was a statement. Some men nodded. Completely wrong. Outside the cafe, the world continued. People walked. Cars moved. Nobody knew that sitting in this small space was someone who had once changed the course of galactic history. What happens now? Yuna asked. Some men's eyes sparkled with something between excitement and mourning. Now, he said, we make sure history doesn't repeat itself. The quantum encryption key pulsed, a silent reminder of a power waiting to be unleashed. Yuna's ordinary life was over. Her real story was about to begin.